Hey there, I'm Ken. This is Canadian Retro Things. Welcome. Today I have one thing to say. Floppy disk. If you follow my channel, you know that while I was at CoCoFEST this year, I picked up an FD-502 disk drive and controller for my color computer. Now, I'm especially excited about this because in all of the time that I've been using color computers, which is since I was like 8 or 9 years old, maybe 10, somewhere back then, I have never owned a floppy drive for any of them. So I guess it is time to plug it in, hook it up, and see if, hopefully, it works. Before we plug this disk drive in and fire it up, how about a little background? This is some information taken directly from CoCopedia. This was the last Tandy controller released for the color computer, and it has some differences from the previous ones in that it has reverted back to solder-tinned edge connectors. And unlike the previous models, it uses a 28-pin ROM rather than a 24-pin ROM for Disk Basic. This model was introduced in 1988. Now some information about the drive itself. This drive is very similar to the previous edition, the FD-501. One of the most notable differences is this is the only Tandy model ever to incorporate true double-sided drives. Now, if you want to access the double-sided drives, you either have to use a patched Disk Basic or an alternative operating system. Also, just a little side note, if you plan on adding a second drive into the housing, you've also got to put in a cooling fan because it'll probably overheat. And we are going to start at the beginning with the FD-502 that I have here. So this is the controller card, and this is the disk drive, obviously. What exactly does the controller card do? Well, you can see on the screen that I am currently running stock on my Color Computer 3 Extended Color Basic 2.0. Something about Extended Color Basic 2.0 is that it doesn't have any disk commands. So, for instance, directory, nothing. DOS, which is the way to start Nitrous 9 programs, nothing. Well, let's see what happens when we plug in the disk controller. Oh, and look at that. Now we are running Disk Extended Color Basic 2.1, which means directory no longer gives you a syntax error. Although I don't have a disk drive hooked up right now, so it's just searching through nothing. The next thing that you have to do, so I get an I/O error because there was no disk to read. This disk drive now plugs into the back of the disk controller card. So it plugs in right there. And it does say top on there, so that goes to the top. It's much easier to do this when you're not on camera. For some reason, it always seems harder. There we go. Now if we turn it on, we're in disk 2.1. I believe the power is on the disk drive. So if I hit dir, the disk drive starts seeking. And it is as simple as that to hook the disk drive up to the Color Computer 3. Now, I have a couple of discs that I picked up a long time ago that I can check out. And those discs are right here. One of them is Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego? The other one is a mystery disc. It did have a label on it, but it fell off at some point, and I have no idea what's on here. There were a bunch of manuals that came with the lot that I bought this in, so there's a number of games this could be. First, though, we will put in Carmen Sandiego. So that just gives you gobbledygook. So I'm going to assume that this is a Nitrous 9 disc. So DOS to start that. Or OS 9, sorry, not Nitrous 9. OS 9, boot, there we go. Level 2, 1986. So this disk drive seems to be working perfectly well. See if the game loads up or not. Ah, there we go. Borderbund Software presents There we go. Carmen Sandiego. Well, I'm going to have to play this at some point. But I now want to find out what is on that mystery disc. Okay. And it is another OS 9, so some sort of a game. What is it? What is it? The suspense is killing me. Flight Simulator 2. All right. Oh, and there we go. That is Flight Simulator 2 for the Color Computer 3 on disk. So this disk drive seems to be working just fine for reading disks. I haven't tried saving anything yet, but yeah, I would say this was a good purchase. Well, there we go. That disk drive works like a dream. I am so excited. Now, you may be asking yourself, why do I have a disk drive in this day and age? Isn't using something like the CoCoFEST so much easier? Well, it is a lot easier to use something like that, but I like to preserve the original hardware and use the original hardware. And this also means now I can start collecting some of the old games that were available on disc, which I'm super excited about, and I can play them because I collect things like that, but they don't just sit on my shelf. I pull them out and I use them, because what's the point in just having something look pretty on the shelf? You gotta play it. A game is meant to be played. All right, well, that is everything for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, you know what you can do with the liking, the subscribing, and the commenting below, because anything and everything you do is always greatly appreciated. I guess I've got to go find where in the world Carmen Sandiego is. So I will see you next time.